right. So here we are. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the finals of the Summer Institute, UCLA Artside Summer Institute. I'm Victoria Vesna. This is a class that we've been teaching for the past, it's the 13th year actually now, incredibly. But this one is very different. And so this class is actually a university class that I teach over a course of 10 weeks, and it has to be pulled together into 2 weeks. So it's a very intensive experimental class that brings students in before they go to the university to think about how they can take advantage of these environments that are incredibly rich with resources, with research, with people from many different disciplines, so they don't get stuck in a small box and then graduate, and where are they? This year we are thinking of nano going up into scale, and I also wanted to mention that we reframed the idea of STEAM. As you know, it's usually science, technology, engineering. Arts was plopped in there almost as an afterthought, and mathematics. So the idea was to shift and call it science, technology, ecology, arts, and then mindfulness. And mindfulness is particularly important now because we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. We're all in our cubicles, either at home or in the Zoom cubicle. So the big challenge for us was trying to figure out how to make this experience rich and to really bring in the same kind of diversity, and at the same time prepare students for a new type of education, have them engage us in a way that we are learning as we go along. So this took a village, basically. In addition to myself, two professors joined me, Professor Jędrzejewski, who's the scientific director of Art Science and has been actually part of the program from day one, and Professor Clarissa Ripiero, who comes to us from University of Fortaleza, and she's been teaching with us for the last 6 years. She originally came as a Fulbright scholar. So the big con is that we couldn't do this in person, but there were some pros that we discovered as we went along. First of all, I'll say the con of having online 8 different time zones was not a fun thing. It was really a difficult thing to imagine. But because we have our own network, we have an instructor, Jody, who is located in Singapore. So she was taking care of the Asia time zone. And then we have also artists in residence and an Artside Collective members who are in Europe. So we managed to figure out how to always be live and then figure out ways to allow students to be offline. The whole theme always changes, so the classes are never quite the same. So the pros here again was that students were able to work in groups across networks and across time zones. This is something very new, and I think it actually will be beneficial once the whole pandemic is over. The reason we place ecologies in the center is because, as I said, the pandemic will go away in 6 months, a year, maximum 2 years or so. But the environmental disasters won't. And so we really had that at the center of our education. We start bottom up, just like nature works. So at the nano level, where we know how much the invisible and inaudible can influence our world. So if you look at the coronavirus, it's 140 nanometers, and yet it's completely changing our world. We move from there to bacteria and biological and building and looking at their environments. This is where mindfulness also comes in. Students were working off screen to look around, to listen, to touch, to think, and to just be off screen completely. So the assignments were very much turn off your computer, turn off your phone. And then we would go completely into the opposite, where we actually were building 3D environments and you will see their whole show in a 3D environment that was built. So with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Jimjevsky, who will also say a few words why in particular it's important for him and his group and scientists in general to work with artists and to have this collaboration really encouraged early on before the university segmentation happens. Professor Jimjevsky, will you say a few words?
Okay, yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to be involved in this school. It's been going on for the last 2 weeks, and we've done many of them. First time we've done it online. But in relationship to science, I have a few things to say about why the approach we take here is very important in terms of science. And, you know, it involves different aspects of science, because knowledge, just learning things, is not really science. You may need to know some facts and so on. But today, you know, with the internet and accessibility of all the data in science, basically online, it's more down to being the things that make a successful scientist are things like, for instance, inspiration. Inspiration is very important. So, you know, when Newton saw this apple falling from a tree in his garden, he was inspired to understand gravitational force. And it's strange that later Steve Jobs went on to call his company Apple. The other thing that's very important in science that people don't realize, when you're a real scientist, actually, you know, at the forefront of a field, is imagination. Creative imagination is essential. That you can't do any science without that. So both artists and scientists, the brightest ones, have this ability to engage in creative imagination. And we all know, or we all should know, that Einstein famously said that imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited to all we know and understand, while imagination embraces the entire world and all there will ever be to know and understand. So the last thing is invention, and invention comes from imagination. And we have talked in this last 2 weeks about people like Nikola Tesla, who's responsible for the fact that you see the planet Earth from space, all these lights there, is really due to Nikola Tesla. And he was an amazing innovator, and he was able to work out in his brain a whole scientific concept of, for instance, dynamos and all the different, or transmission electricity through space. And that is that invention capability is again something that's not easily taught. What we do in this science and art, it's an interesting kind of venture where actually students are engaged in a kind of inquiry-based process of learning. And from that, they have to imagine things. We've said in the past, imagine the impossible. I worked in IBM Zurich research laboratories from 1983 to 2001 on a machine that was initially deemed to be impossible. People thought it was even basically fabricated, the data. But in 1986, Heinrich Rohrer and Gerd Binnig, who worked in that lab, got the Nobel Prize in physics for this microscope called the scanning tunneling microscope. And the idea a microscope could just be a sharp tip feeling something, that was something which initially baffled people. Likewise, if you take Buckminster Fuller, these forms of carbon, nanotubes and things we discussed, in order to get the inspiration for the structure of that molecule, they relied on a futurist and architect. This was Buckminster Fuller, who made a type of geodesic dome structure in his architectural design. So these two inventions, and I was lucky to work on both of them, made the world of nanotechnology possible. It made it real. And now everyone talks about nanotechnology. The last thing I want to say is something by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "The only person you're destined to become is the person you decide to be." And so I hope that this exercise over the last 2 weeks with the students gives them some broad vista to think about their future. Should it be in design? Should it be in science, physics? Should it be in engineering, and so on? And in a way, the students here, I hope, were driven by the different talks and different interactions and experiments they did. And, we use a word, young Leonardos. Like Leonardo was a person who you could think as a scientist or an artist or whatever. But in actual fact, he was all embracing. And that's what this course is about. So the last thing I would say is that, if you go from Leonardo, Tesla, Napoleon, Plato, Spinoza, Newton, Einstein, Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, the Nobel Prize winners I worked with, I think they would all agree that ideas are the seeds of their achievement. And so I hope that all you young Leonardos are inspired by this stuff, and you decide to become the person you decide to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So because it takes 10 weeks to teach this, and we had to reduce it, and we always do, to 2, it literally takes a village. And I would like to introduce the team of amazing people in the ArtSci Collective. We all come together for this. Adam Stieg has been with this program from the very beginning, and the last 3 years more on the sidelines because he's directing a lot of programming at the California Nanosystems Institute. And Claudia Jacques helps us with all of the web design, interface, curriculum. That is her main work that she does. So we're very grateful to them. And then to continue to our lead instructors, Caitlin Bryson has been really essential this year in particular to just hold it all together for us. And we're grateful to you, Caitlin, for that. Mick Larissa has been around with us for quite a few years now, so we consider him a senior instructor, ArtSci Collective member, and wonderful to have you back, Mick, always. Thank you. We continue to, so we're also very lucky, I mentioned in my introduction, to have Clarissa Ribeiro join us also repeatedly. In fact, I think Mick, Larissa, and Clarissa met 6 years ago during NanoLab and continued to do a lot of wonderful collaborations with their own artwork practice. And then we continue to more people. So we have Sam Lilac, who's a PhD student in Jim Jevsky's lab, and he's been wonderful. Also last year, collaborated with us. Shane Huchin is a geology student who just finished UCLA and is now off to Caltech. John Bramley got his PhD at the University of Scuba recently in interface empowerment informatics, I should say. And Zainab just recently got her MFA at Design Media Arts here at UCLA. So you can see an interesting mix. We mix it all up. Then we have Clinton and Ivana, who are undergraduate students in Design Media Arts. working a lot with sound and also part of the collective. Alvaro is a second-year graduate student in design media arts, and Ellie graduated a few years ago, and now she's a colleague artist. So those are the instructors who are more part-time this year, but we're actually full-time. I think we all were just full-time. And then we, as I mentioned also in the beginning, Jody, who's the second year in design media arts, she was in my class. She ended up being the instructor. She was in my class in the spring. And this is where I realized how important the live part is, because a lot of what we did during class, I would send her the recorded part and then meet with her once a week. And I could tell that she felt so left out. So I made the effort then to shift that and not have any of the students feel that that something else is happening and they're just getting a recording. So we really avoided that. And thank you, Jody, for teaching, but also for teaching me that that's definitely not the way to go. We're all learning because it's a new way to teach. Helen is a biology student who has been in our group for a couple of years, and she did a wonderful workshop with pine cones and was able to negotiate. She was the bridge, let's put it that way. So Jody is in Singapore, Annie is in Hangzhou, and Helen's in LA. So she was bridging over and transferring all the materials from LA to Singapore. And I would also like to thank Christoph Killian, who's our ArtSci artist in residence. Unfortunately, he came to LA exactly when everything started closing down. But virtually, he's been with us, so we're happy to have him join us repeatedly from Germany and also conduct a workshop. Thank you. Then we had a number of speakers who are our collaborators who contributed their time. And one of them is Siddharth Ramakrishnan, who's a professor at Puget Sound in neuroscience and a long-term collaborator. He also taught a number of times in NanoLab and really practices art and science in his lab and in his practice. Vukushkovich gave a wonderful talk on nanotech. He's a researcher who's based in Irvine and works with research companies in UC Irvine. He actually connected the whole nanotechnology talk to coronavirus and how we may perceive it differently. Monica Lucasio comes to us also from Europe. She's in Vienna. She's a graduate student at the Angewandte, the Applied Arts University, and talked about projects that we do together and was there in European time zone. And finally, Rita, who was a PhD student here at UCLA, a teaching assistant at one point for me, and now she's actually in charge of education at California Nanosystems Institute. She talked about ethics and science research. So here we go, brother and sisters. Sam Lucasio is a postdoc who does incredible work, and he has come a number of times to discuss CRISPR, the importance of it, and has a really wonderful ability to explain this. And then we have Deborah Giannone, who visited us. She's an actress, director, and screenwriter here in LA, and she introduced students to the idea of presentation. So you will see that they're presenting in a way that they're very conscious of how they're presenting, and this is an important thing in this class as well. Deborah also joined us briefly to talk about 3D and how it works in Houdini software. She's teaching, she actually has a school, she's starting with this. Also an alumni from UCLA Design Media Arts. And then finally, Ellen Ferranto, who is an alumni of the SciArt program. So we're very proud of a lot of our alumni, and we try to bring in at least one during our course of our summer sessions. Of course, we get some additional people, and so we're all animals, and these are pets that occasionally join us. When I saw this in the gallery, I just thought this is just so wonderful. So thank you, everybody, for sharing these wonderful animals, and even a brand new baby, Nico, who joined the Artside Collective recently. So that's everybody that it takes. If we have groups that are no larger than 10, 5 groups, and we're all just always around trying our very best as we're showering them and overwhelming the students with so much information until we come to the point where we connect all the dots and they start thinking what they would do. We are truly astonished and inspired at the response because it's such a difficult time to work, but we got students to collaborate, we got students to work together, to think creatively, to be positive, and to just make the best of the situation. So we know that within a few years, they will see each other in person and continue working together. So let's now start and see what's going on. Who's going to talk about the program?
I will talk.
Okay. So Caitlin will run you through very quickly the amount of information that we throw on these students. So a day is equivalent to a week, let's put it that way. And it's very consciously done.
Yeah, that was what we were kind of telling the students. We were talking to them about this. If this class was happening usually in 10 weeks, then yeah, one whole day is like a full week of class. So super intense. And instructors are going to kind of jump in with me so that you all can meet us and see us together. But the first day was really just about introductions. So we got to hear from some of the folks that Victoria mentioned, who are our Professor Emerita and people who've been involved for a long time, like Professor Vesna, Dr. Adam Stieg, Dr. Jimjeski. And then we also kind of talked about getting to know our environments or our spaces through a workshop that's been happening for multiple years now that's really important for grounding students, led by Mick LaRusso, and Clarissa helps this year as well, eco-sensing. And then Alvaro and Sam and I kind of all joined forces together to talk about how to keep a sketchbook and a lab notebook and a field guide book or a field book. And then Helen also got us aware of our surroundings by talking about pine cone hygrometers, which ended up becoming, the students did a workshop later on in the weeks. Mick, do you want to take it away for this one?
Sure, yeah, we'd like to share some student work from each of our workshop days. And so these are actually all screenshots from Group Beta when we had our breakout rooms, and we're sharing beautiful drawings based on the students using their senses in their backyard to notice plants, smells, sounds, all of these, really engaging their senses to understand that by engaging your senses, you also start to realize how connected our senses are to technologies we develop and we talk about the next day.
So day 2, into the nano. Sam, maybe jump in.
Yeah, sure. So we really dived into the nanoscale world. We started our day out with a great talk by Adam Stieg, where he really gave us a great understanding of how we use our knowledge of interactions to measure things down at these scales, right? We can't look at most species like we can with our eyes and just determine all of their properties. We have to rely on our knowledge of that phenomena. And then I gave a brief talk introducing the general properties of electromagnetic radiation and how that applies or affects the limits of resolution in microscope systems. Dr. Uskovich gave us a really great talk called Time to Be Really Small, where we really dived into how the unique properties of nanomaterials begin to emerge once you get down to that scale and you don't see these properties in the bulk. We also got a really cool tour of CNSI. It was unfortunate we couldn't physically be present there, but we got to see optical microscopy. You got to see a STED microscope actually in real time, and the different dyes that were used to differentiate parts of a sample. You got to tour the Titan electron microscope, which was the first electron microscope of that kind built in the United States. And that can get down to atomic resolution as well, and is highly used for different biological sample analysis these days. And then finally, towards the end of the day, Dr. Jimjeski gave us a really great talk on carbon allotropes, things like buckyballs, carbon nanotubes, and their unique properties as well. And then we had a lecture and workshop with Professor Vesna, where we used pencils and paper, and we learned about the different properties of graphite and graphene and their implications in our current everyday lives. And so this is just some images of some of the workshops we did. We had these students actually get to build their own paper spectrometers if they wanted to make a visible light spectrometer, just using a DVD fragment as a diffraction grating. And so you can see a student imaging just sort of the diffraction pattern on a wall here. And we also encourage students to start exploring the world through a USB microscope and sort of familiarize themselves with their surroundings, both at the micro and macro scale as best as they can. Unfortunately, we can't image at the nano scale very easily in our houses. And these are some of the beautiful, these were also the blog posts for the students of the day. They did all of this offline by hand with nothing but pencil and paper. And they were encouraged to focus on the unique hexagonal sort of ordering and structures that you tend to see in different carbon allotropes. And so this is just some of the artwork that the students put forth.
Right, on day 3, this was kind of spearheaded by myself and Mick Russo and Clarissa Ribeiro. We first started talking about, well, so scaling up from nano to then the microbial world. We moved into the mycelial networks, and we learned a lot about fungi and about interspecies communication through mycorrhizal networks, and about the potentials that fungi hold in remediating toxic lands. And then we started part 1 of the mycology workshop, which was to kind of like animate or wake up our sleeping mycelium bags that the students ordered. And then Mick, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we were working up into this microbial scale, and we did a flash review, or well, intro to the microbial world. So the microbiome, and thinking about how really wherever there's life on this planet, there are microbes of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and understanding how they're all connected together in very beautiful and complex networks. So we started a workshop called Microbial Theater, where students were encouraged to develop narratives about this unseen world, and do some drawings or skits or books, and also experiments with agar and using the microscope to look at everything on a micro scale. So we had a lot of beautiful things that came out of that. And Clarissa, did you want to talk about the exquisite corpse?
Yeah, the students, they did a great job. At the beginning, we're not we're afraid it would not be easy to collaborate in a virtual environment online to grab different parts and images they were taking at home using their USB microscopes. But yeah, we had they did a great job, and we have beautiful sculptures combining different scales. By the end, you could see by the time we were visiting our exhibition on Mozilla Hubs, the production, the final projects for the Exquisite Corpse workshop. And we were all amused by the videos students sharing, were baking the cycle bread, and me and Mickey were sort of dancing in a video tutorial. And so I hope some were having fun at home while baking and mixing their saliva with honey and flour to bake this bread. That's actually an invitation to think about how our microbiome can influence behavior. Even if you have just by the end, since you are baking the bread, fragments or molecular fragments of the bacteria from our, salivary microbiome and whatever. That's it. We had an amazing time, and the students inspired us a lot when we saw the results, the outcomes. Thank you all.
And so just to breeze through some of the work, these were all from the microbial theater workshop. Really great to see this stuff and the narratives that came out. And then these are the exquisite corpses that Clarissa was just talking about and that students built together in SketchUp. And these became like our SciArt avatars or monsters that then identified the groups. And this was so cool to see, and also just really great way to think about collaborating online. So day 4, we went into sound and vibrations. So maybe John?
Sure, yeah, I can introduce this day. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a little bit tied up because I'm also controlling all the
I can take it over, John, if you like.
Okay.
I can take it over. So John is actually doing the streaming, and I think doing these things parallel is a little bit stressful. And I'm happy to take it on because a big passion of mine actually is working with sound and noise, and in particular thinking about what is not audible to us. So I started the day by talking about underwater pollution and a project that I did with Angewandte in Vienna, Martina Froschel and Dr. Alfred Windel on planktons and noise pollution. Dr. Jimzewski gave a talk about looking at how guitar playing and quantum fields inform each other, and explaining the quantum fields. So what you saw also on the video is showing the string and how it moves and how it becomes coherent. And then John, who you just heard for a second, gave a wonderful workshop, actually, that he will repeat it for a festival coming up, where students built with a hula hoop a way to go through the environment and record, again, electromagnetic waves and what we don't hear, and also in their environments. And Clinton taught the students to record small bits, and this was another wonderful workshop result, where again it was collaborative. The sounds, even though they were recorded in different cubicles or wherever people are, came together into this composition that we were just loving. So this idea of how we work separately but come together through the work became something that showed up on day 4.
And we actually have some examples of sounds. We don't have, on here we don't have a student compilation, but we will show that. But let me play a couple for you guys. This is from Miranda. Emma? one more from Bianca. We'll just take a clip of this one. It's so ominous. It's amazing. The sounds, oh man, there's just so much good sounds and like really, really interesting compilations. Really excited about those workshops combined and seeing them all together, hearing them all together. So then we blasted off into space and virtual space, outer space, stardust space. I think Zainab or Shane or Victoria.
Yeah, so we started looking at dust, and I will pass it on to Shane because Shane and I collaborated a little bit on that. Searching for dust, where you're searching for micrometeorites, there's 70 to 100 tons of space dust that falls on Earth every day. And there's some people who search for it, and we did it actually as a class. So part of the materials is to have this strong magnet, and you can search for dust and look for micrometeorites. But what you find mostly is pollution, and then looking at that complexity was what we were discussing and showing some projects around that. Shane did a wonderful workshop that actually inspired a lot of students for their projects, especially midterms. Shane, do you want to talk a little bit about remote sensing?
Yeah, so on this day, we had a workshop on remote sensing, which is using satellite imagery to look at the Earth or other planets. And we also focused a bit on Mars because of the, it's a topical subject with the launch of the Mars 2020 rover, just kind of right at the start of our program. And it was a lot of fun. The students returned some really great work, which we have some samples of on the next slide. And then we also had a really great workshop on photogrammetry, and I'll let Zainab talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. So we did our workshop on photogrammetry along with Ellie, which I think she's on this Zoom call as well. So Ellie, feel free to jump in as well. But we basically introduced students to the concept of photogrammetry and going from its history to its uses today in different industries. And then ultimately the students use this technique to pick two objects from their space in our real reality and scan these and brought them into this virtual platform we introduced called Mozilla. And we basically exhibited these scans from students and had a whole reception around it as well.
Yeah, we learned a lot about volumetric data and the process of remote sensing through photography. And in these collective spaces, we were also exploring how shifting perspectives and scales actually can produce inspirations and new ideas.
Wonderful.
And this is just a sample of some of the student work from the remote sensing workshop. So there was kind of two parts to it. Students just looked at images of the Earth, satellite images, and just found sort of inspirational, artistic sort of abstract art, just using the surface of the planet. And then some, edited them to bring out different aspects. So one side a little bit more creative, artistic, but then we used those skills and those observational skills we learned to look at Mars and compare the surface of Mars with the surface of Earth to try and draw analogs between the two and provide, find our own evidence for whether or not there was water on Mars in the past.
All right, so there goes day 6. This is the weekend that kept going. So the weekend was not off. And maybe Alvaro or Helen can jump in.
Yeah, so we finally, oh,
there you
sorry.
go. Hi.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, we finally got some time to go get off screen, and we got to rediscover our neighborhoods by collecting and naming plant species that were surrounding us. And here are some great examples of the different herbarium catalog system that we created using our local environments.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And some amazing illustrations were made out of this, as seen on the very top right.
And I'm not sure if Helen's here, but these are.
I am here.
Great.
So in my lecture and workshop, I talked about how pinecone scales are responsive to the relative humidity level in the air, and I taught this workshop that helps students to make the pinecone they collected from their environment into this hygrometer, and I was really excited to see like how reflective the students' work are, and how like how creative they are, and like how different they approaches they took in finishing this project.
It was very inspirational to them, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So day 7, more mycology.
We finished up the second part of the mycology workshop on day 7, where students were forming their mycelium that had been woken up on Wednesday and made them into hands. So this was to show students that mycelium can take the shape of whatever it is put in. So it's a great building material, a great sustainable and very resourceful building material that has many uses, and also very many environmental implications for thinking about new technology, new architecture, and yeah, new design.
Lots of hands.
Day 8, we talked, let's see, the students had they were working on midterms, so this day was kind of, we gave them a little bit of a break in the afternoon, or in the morning, excuse me, but we are also joined by Sam Lacasio, who Victoria mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, who works with neuroscience and CRISPR, and talked to us about the uses and applications of CRISPR technology and genomic engineering. And then Helen Franto joined us as an alumna via video to talk about origami and some more kind of like ideas of bringing DNA into our physical world and how we can learn about it through origami. Just a few examples of the things that the students made. Day 9.
So day 9, we had my collaborator, Professor Siddharth Ramakrishnan, come for a short bit and join us for a hog zodiac dinner, where we learned about the hog's gene, and as we were eating dinner together. So there's no break, but it was fun. And this is where that image of all the dogs comes in to the picture in your mind's eye, because we sit around the table, in this case around the Zoom table, eating our food and talking about different animals around the Chinese zodiac wheel, and also learning about how animals are used as food, laboratory experiments, therapy animals, all kinds of stories. So it's a fun way to learn and to think about genetic engineering, cloning, and CRISPR, and everything that was learned up to that point. So what you can see is how it is building up from nanoscale to bio to mycelium to looking around your environment, looking up into scaling, and then back down into your own ecology of friendships and people you share food with.
And then the students worked on their midterms this day, and so we are highlighting a couple. So yeah, instructors, just jump in.
Well, this was in Shane's class, and I was impressed with this one in particular because of how Paris, France, is looked at from above, from a bird's eye view, and to pick the purple color because that's very Parisian. I thought it was very interesting. But Shane, you need to jump in. From what I remember, this was a comparison between an actual river delta and then one that's on Mars.
Yeah, so part of the project is we wanted to investigate whether in the past there was water on Mars, which seems pretty conclusive at this point. But it's a good exercise to get the students thinking about how scientists made these discoveries and determined this. So we looked at images from the surface of Mars and found features that looked like they were formed by water. We noticed meandering rivers or deltas or otherwise incised channels, and then tried to find similar features on Earth to kind of support that evidence.
Mm-hmm. And this is really midterms. At this point, the students were presenting their work. They each had 5 minutes to show their slides and talk about what inspired them. So we asked, out of all the things that you saw and learned and wrote about and blogged and tested and exercised, what really caught your attention that you can go a little deeper? And everybody did great. Everybody passed with flying colors. So I was very happy. Everybody delivered on time. It was really impressive, I have to say to the class. So here's another example for the midterm. And Maria did a personality donor, which I thought was a really fun way to think about microbiome. All right, so we finalized everything by taking a look at everything that seems so complex and all over the place. How is it all connected? And students had to really think about it, take time off the computer and use, again, just paper and pencil and start thinking about what they remember, how they connect the dots, think about experiments and scientific environment that Rita Blake talked about, but also experimentalism that's creative and artistic, art research to be taken seriously, and then really take the final project seriously. The students self-organized into groups, which is also very exciting because big part of what I felt was really important in this class in particular is to have students work together because we're all separate. So to, again, work separate just made no sense. And to work separately but together seemed like the way to go. We didn't want to force it, so the fact that people organized by themselves was just really wonderful. And then these groups came up with projects that you're going to see in a few minutes.
And the last day was just a final work day. So yesterday, students were just jamming on that. And we have a slide here. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment while we switch over to our final presentation.
Are we going by groups? How are we doing the presentations?
Yes.
Great.
We're going by groups. One second. Sorry about this.
It's okay. It's a classic Zoom moment. There should be these Zoom fillers. I think it'll be one of my next assignments for students. What to do when somebody's Zooms crash or when somebody is muted but they're talking. All these different moments, like how to create fillers. I think that would be a really cool assignment. I'm doing a filler right now. Maybe Mick and Clarissa can do a dance.
Yeah, actually, that could definitely fill up.
But we have all the assignments. We're good, right?
Oh, yes.
Good.
I was trying to clear space so that nothing would lag, and I accidentally exited out of the final presentation slide.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
To the share.
Exciting.
Students, are you ready?
Exciting. Yay. Woohoo. You did it. You did it.
Oh no.
What now?
I don't have permission to play 2 media objects in this presentation. So I guess we'll come to those and we'll have to ask permission.
Do you want to just request access now if it'll let you do it from there?
Yeah.
There we go.
This is actually something that happens every year.
So we're going to be tolerant about this because everybody had one day to do all the work and deliver 1 hour before our final presentations. But everybody did it, so it's really impressive.
All right, cool.
All right, so here we are.
So the first group is the sound healing group.
Just get rid of that not permission.
Notification. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I'm going to link, actually, I should just pull this up right now. So Kat and Alec and Catherine and Richard, how best, I'm gonna open up this site, and then do you want to walk me through it?
Yeah, sure. So our presentation is basically we're just presenting our website.
Okay.
Those are the different pages are acting as our slides.
For sure.
Great.
All right.
I could start on the home page, actually, the top.
Caitlin, do you want me to measure the time for each group?
Yes, please. I don't know how we'll
I'll
get
put in
notified.
chat once each group has 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So you go like this.
Okay. All right, take it away.
All right, it's all yours. First, breaking the ice. Let's go.
Okay. Hello, my name is Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
I'm Richard.
Hi, Richard.
I'm also Catherine.
Another Catherine. Hi.
And I'm Alec.
Hi.
And for our final presentation, we decided to study the effects of sound waves on the brain. So I'll link our website in the chat. So if you decide to go look at that on your own time, please wear headphones to watch the videos that we'll be presenting later in order for them to be effective. So we focus on the idea of using sound as a form of therapy, which could help decrease stress and anxiety. Since brainwaves change depending on activity and mood, inducing specific brainwaves with sound can change a person's state of mind. Based on our research, sound can yield highly beneficial outcomes when introduced to people who suffer from these extreme emotions. Additionally, once the technology is developed in the future, we can use an electroencephalogram, EEG, and other devices to read brainwaves and produce the correct sound waves to counter stress. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, over 40 million adults in the US suffer from anxiety disorders, making it the most common mental illness in the United States. Especially now, given the current state of the world, more and more individuals are isolated and fearful, causing their mental health to suffer considerably. Although anxiety disorders have been shown to be highly treatable, the ADAA found that only 36.9% of those suffering from anxiety seek treatment. We hope that our project will be an accessible option to help those who suffer from stress and anxiety and loneliness. And as more research is done on this method of treatment, it will be more common and applicable for years to come. So now you can go to the About page.
Yeah, so sounds have a variety of beneficial effects on the human brain. So in order to help people who struggle with anxiety and stress, we isolated those beneficial sounds and created a collective of sounds that will help your mental state. Through a method called entrainment, the brain can synchronize itself with these waves and gain benefits of each frequency. This can be achieved by listening to binaural beats, which are two different frequencies played in your ears at the same time. This is why it's necessary to listen with headphones. These wave frequencies can often be found in places such as YouTube and in music, but people are often unaware of the benefits that these sounds provide. So our first step was to create a website with a library of varying frequencies. This is less distracting than YouTube because it's a website solely dedicated to binaural beats. As you can see, our website's quite easy to navigate as it has different pages for each sound. Each of our sounds are paired with a different color that also has their own benefits. We'll elaborate on that in like a little bit. In addition, the use of a website gives a wider audience access to this beneficial therapy. Of course, this can't replace traditional therapies, but it's beneficial regardless. You can go to the next thing.
So the brainwaves with the lowest frequencies are called delta waves. They occur between 0.5 hertz and 4 hertz, and they're associated with deep sleep and dreamless sleep. So for our video, we chose to use deep blue and create a rounder, slower animation to further promote sleep. And then if you could just play like 10 seconds. And then the next waves are called theta waves. Theta waves are at a frequency of 4 to 7 hertz, and studies have shown that theta waves improve deeper relaxation, mood, and creativity, and are linked to meditation and REM sleep. For our video, we chose to use yellow and green to promote balance and relaxation, as well as creativity. Final wave that we chose are called alpha waves. Alpha waves are at a frequency of 7.5 to 13 hertz. They've been shown to promote relaxed focus and are most commonly used to alleviate stress and anxiety. They are also achieved through light meditation and daydreaming and are the bridge between conscious and subconscious. For the video, we chose a soft red and magenta color because in holistic treatments, red is used to increase circulation, which is important to relieve stress. And there are also beta and gamma wave patterns that occur at faster frequencies, but we chose not to use them. Lower beta wave frequencies have been shown to improve alertness and concentration, but studies have shown that as the frequency increases, anxiety increases as well. And if you could go to the future slide.
Our website may hold other resources for those suffering from mental health issues, as you can see in the mental health resources tab, but a website isn't necessarily the best for providing treatment itself. If someone needs to find a video to help relieve stress, they have to interrupt their workflow and go find said stress relief. We hope to improve upon this idea of sound therapy in the future and make it more convenient, but technology must also improve. As you can see in the upper left image, there is a machine called an EEG, which is typically used to detect seizures by measuring brain waves. However, it can also be used to detect stress through abnormal brain waves. These typically look like a low amount of alpha, delta, or theta waves and a high amount of beta waves. at the moment, it takes a lot of effort to use an EEG, as you can see in the picture. So in the future, we hope to simplify it, like in the bottom picture, and connect it to an app so that when the EEG detects abnormal brainwaves, it'll automatically start playing the alpha, theta, or delta waves needed to relieve the user. So we hope that all this technology will work to reduce stress and anxiety for many numbers of people in the future.
Nice.
And that's it.
Wonderful.
Really, really great. I could watch those videos for a long time.
Excellent. They were awesome.
Excellent job, and you guys finished like minute before time, so great.
Great presentation, everyone. Really cool website.
Yeah, very impressive. In fact, I am going to go listen to all those videos after this is over.
I have a question. Are you planning to continue work in this direction?
Yeah, I might want to look into how an EEG machine can be made smaller so that it doesn't need to take as long. It can take 30 minutes to 24 hours of just lying down in order to get full readings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's quite a few people working on that for sure.
I was also thinking maybe this could be implemented as like a tool at schools to help relieve stress, and especially since we're online a lot and alone, it could really help.
So please share this with schools and with your teachers, and raise awareness about, you know, how sound affects mental illness and how noise can be really destructive too. Excellent work. Thank you.
Right? Filthy roads.
Our group name is Filthy Roads, and this project proposal will be presented by Brent Park,
Colin Choi,
Maddox Clark,
and Ari Gupta.
Next slide.
Yes.
So in quick summary of our project, we're taking waste from landfills, and we're sorting out plastic from that waste, and we're using that plastic to build porous asphalt roads. And so for these roads, since they're porous, rainfall will be able to infiltrate through the road, and underneath that, there will be a layer of mycelium that will act as a filter. And when the water goes through, it will be allowed to recharge groundwater reservoirs, which can be collected later. And the production of these plastic roads can have a lot of advantages over 100% asphalt roads, including the production of more jobs, its lowered cost, and the fact that it's more environmentally friendly than these 100% asphalt roads.
Today, all around the globe, we have miles of landfills with tons of trash in them, and it hurts our earth and it takes up precious space. But however, all this trash can be repurposed to build infrastructure, buildings, and other projects. And our goal is to take this trash, sort out as many precious plastics we can, and turn these plastics into materials for the roads. These roads will be a mix of porous asphalt and plastic, and we will use mycelium to filter out water that fills up reservoirs.
So plastic can take up to like 1,000 years to decompose. So the concept is that we would take it, and instead of taking up space in landfills, you can repurpose it to repair roads, which take up a lot of square feet. And in effect, it would make up more room for like farmland or more plants to grow, and it would allow for the storage of rainwater and just be more environmentally friendly in general.
Mm-hmm.
As for social context, we wanted to look into how people are dealing with trash and what it's doing to our planet. As you know, landfills have held mountains and mountains of trash ever since the early 1900s. But with the population growing greater and greater, the growth of trash was going to be exponential. This led to landfills being one of the causes of global warming since the trash releases methane into the atmosphere. Landfills are also located in low-income areas, which leads to health-related problems such as asthma being more present in these locations. With all these problems, our plastic roads hope to decrease fossil fuel that is used to construct asphalt roads. It would also decrease the trash that is stored in landfills, and it makes use of the non-biodegradable waste.
Awesome.
So when could we start to see this become a reality? Actually, we could start seeing this like even present day or in the very near future, since some companies around the world are actually experimenting with plastic roads. And as we saw in Caitlin's lecture and workshop on mycelium is already being used for microremediation as well as like filtering water. So where could we do this? In the US, at least, areas like California and the East Coast would be ideal because these areas have a lot of landfills. Take California, for example, we have about 300 landfills. A lot of these are closed. But using areas near landfills would be ideal because it would take less time to transport materials around, as well as the fact that you're just benefiting that community a lot more.
On this slide, we have two examples of mycelium and waste in art. On the left, we have mycelium used in architecture. On the right, we have waste materials being repurposed into art, as in the form of an owl in this case.
And like Colin said earlier, companies have already began making roads combining plastic with asphalt, such as the MacReber Road. And also the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia made like a porous asphalt road so that could hypothetically be used to collect rainwater.
For our model, we agreed on this plastic road collage. So we agreed to get a large sheet of black construction paper as the base, and then we laid multiple plastics on top. This simulates our idea of roads being built partly out of plastic, although it's not a true replication. We also used small yellow plastic packages to simulate the yellow dotted lines on asphalt roads to make the model easier to understand. The model itself was constructed by Colin.
Wow.
So how do we go from trash to building roads? Well, it starts with taking a bunch of trash from the landfills, transporting it over to a sorting facility. And at these facilities, materials will go down conveyor belts with infrared spectrometers that will quickly determine the material, whether or not it's plastic, and if so, what kind of plastic. And that's important because if you're trying to make a mixture using plastic, you need to make sure you know what materials or what specific plastics you're putting in. Otherwise, it becomes inconsistent, which could change the characteristics of the road. So once you have your plastics separated, they can be melted into pellets and mixed in with normal asphalt. And when they're mixed in, the plastic binds to a material called bitumen, which is the black tar substance you see on streets. And when that happens, the plastic, it prevents it from chipping off and getting into the environment, which is really helpful for reducing the amount of microplastics that end up in our oceans or in our drinking water. And these roads paved with a plastic bitumen combo last longer and cost less than normal asphalt.
So how will we collect the water? So the pores in our roads will allow groundwater and rainwater to seep through to prevent floods, but also can be a source of drinking water. We'll have mycelium under as a filter stage that will lead to a reservoir. And we will have pipes from the reservoir to collect rainwater and groundwater, and it will be filtered by the mycelium.
And the impact or the benefits of this process would release less like carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases produced by landfills. It also create jobs for producing the actual material, and we could slowly increase land that can be used for other stuff other than landfills.
In conclusion, our project aims to repurpose plastics in other ways than just bottles. By incorporating plastic into roads, we reduce the space in landfills that are occupied by trash, which would in turn reduce the amount of methane being produced. Plastic roads would also be a better alternative to asphalt roads since they are more cost-effective, better for the environment, and are easier to maintain and repair. Overall, we aim public works to be optimized to have the biggest positive effects on the environment.
So just some discussion questions to get you thinking about the idea. So how do you think plastic roads could be negatively affecting communities if we were to build them? And what obstacles could stand in the way of the spreading of this project?
Very good.
Great.
The sources. Excellent. I guess my question would be, did you consider whether there would be production of fumes when these plastics have to be converted into pavement type material?
Yeah, we looked into that. And so when you're melting down the plastics to form the little pellets that you mix in, some fumes will be released, but in a lot of like recycling facilities and stuff, they use good ventilation to quickly get the fumes out of the way so it doesn't affect the workers or anything.
Okay. All right, really good work. And it's good that you ask questions at the end. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Microclothing.
Okay, so our presentation is on the link in the top corner.
Okay. Okay, you just walk me through, Isha?
Okay, yeah. Everyone's here, right?
Yes.
Okay,
There's like a
okay.
bottom corner that'll like tell you which page. We'll tell you which.
Okay, yeah, just I'll just follow you. Ooh, I love
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, wait, where's Anna?
Oh, Anna, are you here?
Sorry, I was muted.
The Zoom moment.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Weber. These are my group mates, Samantha Stracer, Isha Varshney, and Amy Yoon, and our idea is microclothing.
Okay, can you click like, yeah.
Like
The three
this one?
lines, yeah, and then go to abstract.
Yeah, just the first one.
We researched the problems with fast fashion and how there are ways to fix the carbon emissions from the fashion industry. We built off of the research that others have done to create a sustainable, breathable, and eco-friendly outfit.
Next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we all were very interested in finding our own environmentally friendly fabric using eco-friendly materials. So our goal is to address issues like fast fashion and microplastics in clothing with our brand. And we want to start off our project in local neighborhoods and help spread awareness to our friends about the importance of buying sustainably and hopefully branch out across the globe.
Okay.
So our main goal is to create high quality clothing that is cheap but also environmentally friendly. So in order to do this, we want to find the best possible manufacturing methods and utilize them. Another goal of ours is to spread awareness about the problems certain fabrics cause and educate people on the ways they can help out.
Okay, so as it was said earlier, fast fashion industries are releasing a lot of microplastics into the ocean. The microplastics are then consumed by plankton, causing them to die. This is important because plankton produce a large portion of oxygen and they are at the bottom of the food chain. So if they die, the entire ocean ecosystem is disrupted. And there's less oxygen causing global warming. However, a few people have attempted sustainable fashion, but the concept is not globally recognized, and we would like to change that.
So Econol is basically regenerated nylon, and if you don't know what nylon is, it's a synthetic plastic material. However, there are several downsides to this. So the purpose of Econol is to bring the same qualities of nylon but make it more environmentally friendly. When nylon is thrown into the oceans, they are recollected to produce a new sustainable nylon, which is Econol, which helps reduce the pressure in sea life. They're also continuously recyclable, so.
Tencel is a.
Oh, keep scrolling down.
Scroll down.
Okay.
Tencel is a trademark name and is made out of lyocell, a cellulose fiber made from wood pulp. I want to talk about this. Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah, I want to talk about the mason jar. I found a cute workshop for kids on unboard.org, and it was heavily related to our project, so I decided to do it. It was very simple. I made oolong tea with dissolved sugar and added some kombucha. Kombucha is a probiotic, so combined with table sugar, we can make a kind of paper at the top of the jar called bacterial cellulose. Tencel is a closed-loop process, which means that the chemicals and water used for making tencel can be recycled to make more tencel, which is what we can do for the bacterial cellulose as well. Once the paper is formed, you can take it out and more paper will form at the top of the liquid. I am curious if this cellulose will come out like the texture of tencel, which is soft.
The other regenerative cellulose fiber we want to talk about is bamboo. Bamboo fabric requires no pesticides or fertilizers and no chemical treatments for bacteria and is regenerative. It's actually considered a weed because it can grow in a lot of places and doesn't really need anything assisting it. All chemicals used in making bamboo fabric are reusable, and it's a soft, durable fabric that's great for sustainable clothing. But if you're going to buy it, you have to make sure the label of your bamboo clothing says Myocell or bamboo viscose, or else it may be a type of bamboo clothing that's not sustainably made.
So linen comes from flax plants, and it's actually one of the world's oldest textiles. They're both biodegradable and recyclable. And in addition, linen does not require too many resources to produce. So flax plants can grow on like poor soil and also has a lower water footprint than other fibers such as cotton. So, so I attempted to make a wrap dress out of the linen fabric that I had at home. So that's just a photo of the dress I made.
Nice.
If you scroll down a little bit more, please.
Sorry.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So mycelium fabric is a fabric made from fungi. It is made by sandwiching 2 pieces of cardboard sheets and growing for about 2 months. It is then baked to allow it to become sterile and turned into fabric. I made a prototype here, and currently it is growing inside the cardboard. Okay. So the advantages of mycelium is that it is strong as deerskin, it is fire resistant, and it is a viable substitute for leather. Okay, and then algae yarn is made by powdering sugar and derived from kelp and then making it into a water-based gel. And then the gel is extruded into fibers and then woven into fabric. This is good because it does not require many resources or much land to grow, and it can be used for embroidery.
Beautiful.
Okay, now you can go to the top.
You guys did a lot of research. It's great. All right.
The first part of our outfit is the shirt, which is made out of tencel, which is soft, doesn't wrinkle, biodegradable, and sustainable. We use coreopsis to make the white dye, and we sell the shirt to be a crop top.
For the style of the pants, we chose to do a flared look, and Econol is great to use as the waistband for the pants because it has a very elastic quality. We will also use linen for the rest of the pants, and linen is the perfect fabric because not only are they highly breathable, but they're also extremely sturdy. And this will make the pants very durable and long-lasting, which is great. And the blue color of the pants will come from cornflower, which is a plant that can produce natural blue dye.
The jacket is made with bamboo fabric on the inside and mycelium outside. Bamboo fabric is very soft and is also thermally regulating, so it manages to keep you cooler in warm environments and warmer in cooler ones. It's the perfect material for the inside of a jacket, and a thin layer of mycelium will give it a sturdier outer layer. For the shoelaces, we're using alga-based yarn, which is a strong, flexible material that is made from 100% algae and is completely biodegradable.
Our sneakers are made with mycelium because it will have a sturdy feel that would be similar to leather. However, unlike leather, these shoes are waterproof and they will not cause discomfort in hot weather. We also choose to keep the natural color mycelium because it has a suede-like color. Our purse is also made of mycelium due to its leather-like feel and its sturdiness. We will also use madder to make it a rust-like color. Okay. The impact our clothing will have on the environment is that it will reduce pollution, reduce risk of disease from ingesting toxins while making materials such as cotton. It is compostable and it will act as a natural fertilizer, and we will keep better working conditions for our workers.
What we're going to do differently than other sustainable fabric companies is we're going to manufacture our fabrics in molds to ensure no unnecessary scraps are left behind. We're going to label our tag with the type of fabric and a guarantee that 0 harmful chemicals were released so that the buyer will really understand what they're getting, and we're going to try our best to be affordable.
Wonderful.
Okay, we have a conclusion too, but if there's no time for that, it's okay.
Go ahead. We'll give you some extra time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Different fabrics to find out which combination of fabrics will make a line of clothing that is affordable and sustainable. This led to our ideal outfit. However, many of these fabrics are expensive. A white collared shirt made 100% out of tencel is $100.
Okay, so these are the reasons why I should shop sustainably. And that's the end of our presentation, but thank you so much.
Really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So are you starting a company?
Yeah, we hope to continue something like this in the future.
Yeah, we're all going to try growing the fabric.
That's wonderful. I mean, you really have a start of
And see what we can make
a proposal. You could, pitch to someone to try to fund a new clothing line. I would be a customer.
Thank you. Isha, you'll have to keep me posted on how your fabric grows.
Yeah, I will.
And also, I also love all the different combinations of how all the fibers come together. Like even just thinking about the jacket and how it has like these, like the interior is mycelium.
Yeah, 2 layers.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, really great. I want a pair. I want
Really cool.
of those sneakers for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, the shoes, they're fantastic.
I want to buy the bell bottoms. Go fund me, Claudia said. So we have 2 companies starting, road paving and different clothing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Hey, excellent work.
Oh, here, actually,
Oops.
I'm gonna just.
Sorry.
I'll go through really quickly because or else we'll get lost.
Oh, yes, sorry. That's our PowerPoint. We didn't really have a way to slow it down.
Oh, wonderful.
Sorry, guys.
That's a very nice PowerPoint, actually. Who was doing the design? Were you doing
Of
it
the
together?
clothing?
Yeah, of the PowerPoints on the website.
We all did it together.
Very
mostly.
nice. Very
Yeah.
good graphics.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.
Brick and mortar.
Right.
Are we ready to start?
Yes.
I'm ready.
Great. So, hi everyone. We are Maya, Anna, and Noelle, and we call our project Brick and Mortar. So, for our abstract, we are going to present an urban architecture plan. So imagine that every sidewalk, every foundation in a city is connected Instead of using computers, however, we would expand on the currently known powers of mycorrhizal networks, slime mold, and bacteria, which could fix concrete and eventually let a city grow itself. This would improve construction efficiency and decrease carbon emissions.
Our inspiration for this project stemmed from one workshop we had in contiguous fungi networks and woven ecologies with Caitlin Bryson. And in the top right is actually one of her art pieces from her website. During this lab, we grew our own bags and gloves of mycelium, which is what mushroom bodies are made from. They're highly intelligent and they can create long networks underground, capable of exchanging intelligence, nutrients, and communication. It was this idea that made us probe around with the idea of applying this science, a highly developed biological system that brings aid and materials to areas in need, somewhere where it wouldn't traditionally belong. Next slide. Another one of our inspirations was a slime mold. As you can see in these GIFs, these slime molds are very intelligent. When presented with resources, they will grow into these beautiful interconnected networks that take the most efficient route possible to get to the nutrients. As you can see to the right on the United States oat petri dish. We looked to these connections and wondered if we could apply them in an urban setting, essentially bringing together once polarized ideas, the idea of human inhabitants and the wild nature. Two of our architectural inspirations came from both research on bacteria-assisted self-healing concrete and biomimicry designs that both embrace the idea of a blend between humans and nature.
And essentially, it is an efficient urban foundation using the connective abilities of mycorrhizal networks, fungi, and bacteria to redistribute material throughout the city to reconstruct it and grow. So imagine that there's damage in one part of the city. The foundation automatically sends materials to that part to regrow it or to reconstruct it. So imagine a living city that heals itself.
So in order to create a city that repairs itself, we would make use of living organisms and their automatic systems. This can be made possible with self-healing material, specifically self-healing concrete. So it can be implemented into not only buildings, but also tunnels, roads, bridges, sidewalks, etc. We can reduce the amount of time, money, and energy needed to repair these structures in the process. And we understand that this is a large thing to ask for, and this project will not be completed overnight. However, we hope that over time we can gradually transition into using self-healing concrete until it makes up the majority of our cities. So I basically created an animation to show how this process works. Bacteria is used in concrete and it's useful when the concrete cracks. So a bacterium called Bacillus pseudoformis and a calcium nutrient called calcium lactate are mixed into the concrete, so that when water seeps in, the bacteria becomes activated. They feed on the calcium lactate and react to form limestone, which fills the crack over the span of 3 weeks. Self-healing concrete is not limited to bacteria either. Fungi have also been implemented into cement to respond to and heal cracks in concrete.
Four billion tons of concrete per year have been reported to contribute to over 8% of the world's CO2 emissions. The current dynamic of the concrete industry is in need of serious reform. And then next slide. As you can see, concrete essentially emits CO2 in the atmosphere in many of its manufacturing steps. On the graph, concrete production is up there as one of the leading causes of carbon emissions per year. And concrete is only second to water as being the most consumed resource on the planet. Now, this idea of interconnection in cities isn't a new topic. Here are some images taken from Google Earth from all over the globe. As you can see, there is already a foundation of concrete that connects the city. Our idea is to utilize the connective abilities of mycorrhizal networks, fungi, and bacteria to further expand on this foundation. We think it would be extremely beneficial to jump on this idea now, as we don't have a lot of time left to address the detrimental effects of climate change.
So by shifting the methods of architecture to include self-repairing systems with microorganisms, we can decrease the carbon emissions produced by factories responsible for construction. And in addition to that, the Census Bureau estimates that the US spends $1.3 trillion on construction per year, on average. Our plan will be expensive at first, but effective long term. With enough money, effort, and research, this concept of using living things to self-repair can be applied to fields beyond construction as well. So if our phones and our cars repair themselves, there would be less waste and increased economic sustainability. And also, it would change our perception of microorganisms and their uses as a whole.
So as developers of this idea, we had to ask ourselves a lot of questions about the socioeconomic and environmental impacts of our design. So Maya already talked about how we'd replace the existing buildings over time, but also economically, we have to think about like the workers who currently do work in construction, how would we transition them into green construction? We see this as an issue a lot with like coal energy and transitioning that to green energy. Additionally, we'd have to consider the natural implications. Will the native organisms accept a new social network of this like mycelium bacteria-based system? And for the next slide, I have just an activity to just sort of ground ourselves and visualize just what this would look like. So I want everyone to close your eyes, and if not, that's fine. But I just want you to listen to what's around you. And I hope that you can all, and I hope that you think about how much of it is actually alive, right? Our houses, our foundations, we have air conditioning, and we have refrigerators going, electricity going, but we want to imagine a future where we're hearing things growing, we're hearing things moving and changing. And for a lot of us, being surrounded by microorganisms seems really invasive, especially in the era of COVID with the virus and just our societal perceptions of the microbiome. Our project's greater goal is really to unify people and nature and to bridge that divide between us and the natural world, because we are part of the natural world. And I hope that you can continue thinking about that, thinking about your surroundings and what are the living things around you. And thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Yay!
So beautiful. So beautiful.
The microbes are also clapping. All the microbes.
Yeah, they're here.
I like the little listen to your environment and nothing is alive.
It's
very
amazing how you all,
very effective way to bring your whole presentation down to the essence of what you're trying to say and do. Very effective.
Yeah, just really great. Super well thought out. I felt like every time I was having the thought like, oh, what about this? You addressed it right afterwards. Like you just really just covered every aspect of it. I got chills.
I really gotta say, like, so comprehensive and well thought out, and every little comment that some of the instructors have made, I can say that you guys definitely took it to heart and like did such an amazing job. Great, good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm speechless.
Thank you.
So good. Oh, goodness. So inspired by you all. Oh, did I miss
the micro gang.
Cool.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jolyn, and I'm in the micro gang with Emma and Maria. We're the first out of 3 groups presenting about sustaining life on Mars from micro to macro. We will be covering the micro world on Earth, and how they can be applied to terraforming the red planet. Next, please. In this project, we will be looking at the environment on Mars, extremophiles, and beneficial microbes and their impact on Earth. We will explain how microorganisms are crucial in creating an ecosystem on Mars to possibly terraform the red planet. This presentation also dives into the ethics of human impact on another planet. At the end, there will be a short animation to sum up the project. Next.
So in order to see how microorganisms can be introduced to a new environment, we're going to look at some of the conditions of Mars that may differ from Earth. So first of all, as you can see from the temperatures, it is very, very cold. The average temperature is cold and the poles are even colder. And on the surface terrain, Mars is pretty uniform with not a lot of biomes. There's a lot of red dust as a result of iron oxidization. There's some soil nutrients such as iron, magnesium, aluminum, calcium, and potassium. And some of the land features include rocks, volcanoes, craters, canyons, and dried riverbeds. The atmosphere of Mars is very, very thin. 96% of it is carbon dioxide, and there are frequent winds and dust storms. There's also no ozone layer on Mars, which means that it is really frequently exposed to UV radiation from the sun, and there's also no magnetic field, which means it can be also exposed to a lot of space debris and cosmic rays. We also want to explore some of the prerequisites of life, things that make life possible. So number one, biogenic elements. And as you can see from the top right, these are some of the elements necessary for life. And number two, we need a source of energy. So for this one, Mars is constantly exposed to the sun, maybe a little bit too much, but there's also other sources of energy on Mars, such as chemical weathering and volcanic activity. And number three, life needs liquid water. As far as we know, Mars does not have enough water to sustain living things. However, we do find traces of it from Google Earth Pro, such as land features of dried riverbeds and craters. And number four, we need a stable environment for evolution to take place. So Mars has a very turbulent environment. There's a lot of dust storms and wind and changing of CO2 levels that can change the air pressures and living conditions of the areas.
Microorganisms are everywhere. Their presence, which can be harmful or beneficial, constantly affects the environment. Their most significant effect on Earth is their ability to recycle the primary elements that make up all living systems, like carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. The most important aspect of microbial metabolism is the cycle of nutrients. Diversity in micrometabolism ensures that elements are available in their proper form for every type of life.
And before we start talking about living organisms that could survive on Mars, we need to define and understand the term extremophile. It is usually defined as any organism that can survive in conditions that go beyond those that were thought to be limiting before. However, the term is quite human-centric and subjective, and is usually centered around humans or similar organisms. So, any organisms that could potentially survive on Mars would be considered an extremophile by Earth's standards. There are multiple types of extremophiles, but in this presentation, we have extremophils that could potentially survive in high UV, very cold, and very dry conditions of Mars. Such types are polyextremophils, psychrophils or cryophils, oligotrophs, carnophils, and endoliths.
Nice.
Here's a short animation to sum up the information we've covered. There are a total of 411 frames, 5 frames per second.
Yeah, and the background music was made through scanning an image of a tardigrade through a pixel synthesizer, as well as background ambience from Mars noises from NASA's library.
Yes.
Microorganisms make up the bottom layer of the energy pyramid, as producers, autotrophs, and photosynthesizers. Everything living depends on them for food and energy, meaning that they are vital for starting life on Mars and terraforming the planet. Most of Earth's microorganisms are not harmful to humans and work well with us. Symbiotic relationships are vital for creating an ecosystem of interdependence. Decomposers are important to break down and return nutrients to the soil. Aspergillus, bacillus, and penicillin are some groups of microorganisms that can work on this task. These organisms produce O2 and NH3, ammonia, primary production and nitrogen fixation respectively. Microorganisms are able to promote plant growth, paving the way for primary consumers to be introduced to the red planet. They are the building blocks from which life begins. Everything in our living ecosystem is connected, from micro to macro.
Sorry, it won't let me get out of this full screen. There it goes.
And some of the important topics to talk about when discussing such a grand proposition that is terraforming Mars are the long-term impacts of this concept and how it may affect the human life as well as the red planet in the future. Some scientists, as well as multiple space exploration companies such as NASA, argue that the introduction of microorganisms that are native to Earth to Mars might potentially diminish the chances that humanity has in discovering the native life on Mars. However, some researchers argue that in the future, contamination between the two planets is inevitable, and instead of avoiding it, humans should use it in order to terraform Mars. However, in the long run, if terraforming the environment on Mars proves to be a success, there may be a risk that without proper control, Mars could become contaminated with byproducts of human life and relocation. After all, if conditions on Mars will be altered in the future to make them livable for humans, it might give future generations an impression that treating their native environment with respect is not necessary, since there could be an escape plan found later on in the future. However, there are positive aspects of terraforming Mars as well. For example, by combining the DNA of ecologically important microorganisms with that of extremophiles, humanity could produce beneficial, life-sustaining microbes that could survive in multiple extreme conditions. That could open doors towards transforming not only the environment of the red planet, but also certain regions on Earth that became uninhabitable after environmental disasters or human interference. And some of the questions that we left you with are on the left, such as, do humans have a right to terraform Mars and turn it into the new Earth?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, wow.
What a beautiful, beautiful presentation. And I love the video. It's just absolutely touching to me. It's really well done and it's informed well. It's minimalist, and yet there's so much information there and research. You just did a marvelous job. I'm really, really touched.
It's honestly mind-numbing.
The sound is beautiful as well. Yeah, you combining so many references to produce the sound, and it's really good to listen to.
Yes, beautiful. I would just at the end add a few frames with credits and the sound by and just to, because you should post it and share that. It's a beautiful message.
Mm-hmm. I agree. You guys, you hit it out of the park and all the way to Mars.
Yeah, and beautiful reflection as well.
Thank you.
Really good.
Those questions are some very deep questions that I think having them, I wish more adults were asking those questions. I wish people that, I'm excited to live in your guys' future.
Yes.
Agreed.
There's hope.
There is hope.
And we didn't include some of the sources, but just know there's more.
All right, we continue with Mars.
Oops, sorry about that. Okay, are you all ready? Theo, Matt, and Robert?
We are ready.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, our presentation is called Green Horizons of the Red Planet. It's similar to theirs, but rather than focusing on microbes, our focus is on plant life on Mars. I'm Theo from Sequoia High School.
I'm Robert.
Theo.
And I'm Matt.
Hey, Matt.
You can go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. So our group set out to answer the question, which method of plant production would be feasible and sustainable given current technologies in order to sustain Martian researchers? And we explored two possible solutions for their effectiveness in producing crops and their practicality. The first was a large-scale terraforming project, and the second was a smaller-scale project to sustain plant life in indoor environments. After much research, we arrived at the conclusion that terraforming the planet on a large scale is not currently feasible, but still theoretically possible. For Mars colonies in the distant future, such a project might be necessary, but for now, small-scale growing in controlled environments overcomes basically all these obstacles. And here you can see kind of our art project. This is kind of a visualization of what an eventual terraformed Mars might look like. Just a section with water and vegetation. You can go to the next slide. All right, a central theme of our project is sustaining life on Mars, but we chose to focus on the aspect of plant life. Another theme is remote sensing or observing at a distance, and a third theme is adaptation. The main issue we're addressing is that the Martian surface is too harsh an environment for plant life to exist as we know it, but future researchers will need a sustainable food source. You can go next.
Currently, landing humans on Mars is the next big milestone for humanity. So when the time comes, the food source that they can only produce is gonna be crops.
Sorry.
So there have been many approaches to how we can sustain life or plant life or just life in general on Mars. Some are within our reach and some are almost impractical. There's still science to them. The proposal primarily occurs in the near future, but it also considers the far future.
Sorry, guys, the slides got messed up.
Get out.
If you're trying to make it full screen, you have to go on the web and on the Chrome and go to view full screen. There you go.
Robert, is this a slide you want to be on, or should I go?
No, next one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
So for precedence, the concept primarily grew from the remote sensing the red planet assignment and our just shared interest in the topic. And those are pictures of our presentations from that. That's all.
So basically, this is our project proposal. So basically what we want to do is basically be able to first address the problems that we have and also be able to enhance plant life on Mars. So if you would go to the next slide, please. Basically, our goal is to enable further research, have a better understanding of Mars, and this would be able to help us with different technological advances and may be able to allow us to find or have different kinds of discoveries, such as different minerals with different properties that could eventually help us in the future. Next slide. Some problems that we have is like the first, plants need soil to grow. So the soil on Mars is filled with iron, and if there's too much iron in the soil, it could lead to food poisoning, which is not very ideal. So what we want to do is take the compounds that we need and reinsert it to the soil that we brought from Earth. The second problem was that there's no water, or not that much water, on the majority of the surface of Mars. So one way we could do that is terraforming, but right now we don't have that kind of technology to be able to successfully terraform all of Mars. So one way we could that we came up with was to have indoor environments and different kind of greenhouses, and that we can grow these plants in, so that we have a more familiar biome to deal with. And the third one is the atmosphere isn't very ideal for the plants to live in. We could use selective terraforming to be able to bring in different gases into the air that could possibly eliminate or dilute the harmful gases, and maybe these plants will develop adaptations to this. But right now we're probably going to do indoor environments. Next slide. So this is the atmosphere. So basically, we were, like I said before, it's not very good for Earth plant life, but however, we were able to look off of what other people have collected and their data. We would see that most of Mars' atmosphere is carbon dioxide, and its atmospheric pressure is a little different. So that, and plants need that atmospheric pressure to be able to like stand the ground and be firm. Um, and also, it's sometimes very cold and very hot. So that means that the water will freeze. So we might have to address these problems to be able to grow plant life on Mars. Now for the soil. Martian soil doesn't have different microbes that Earth does because of its obviously barren environment. In order to, we would have these kind of greenhouses, like I stated before, to be able to grow these plants because we are already very familiar with this kind of plant life. And over time, we will be able to move over to the outdoor environment of Mars and then that will be our next technological advancement and a step towards a better future. Martian soil is a little, like I said, has a little bit more iron, has different types of minerals, and is a little bit finer than what our plants are used to. So that's why we have our soil solution.
So right now, terraforming is kind of off the table. Most solutions to terraforming Mars propose releasing greenhouse gases from sources on the planet to thicken the atmosphere and increase its temperature to where water is stable on the surface. Unfortunately, data from NASA shows that there isn't enough CO2 in order to provide significant greenhouse warming. The minerals bearing carbon deep within the crust may have enough CO2 to reach the required pressure, but the deposits remain unknown and they're kind of unreachable right now with our current technology.
Okay, so another advancement would be synthetically engineered plants. Obviously, plants on Earth have evolved to thrive in nutrient-rich soil with high amounts of sunlight and relatively warm temperatures. But even with good soil, plants on Earth would struggle to survive on the bare Martian surface. However, using synthetic biology to create an entirely new breed of Mars-adapted crops could overcome these challenges. Synthetic biology is similar to gene editing techniques such as CRISPR, which we learned about in this program. It's similar in that it edits an organism's genetic code, but it's different in that it allows scientists more freedom to edit DNA as they can implement completely synthesized DNA sequences or ones from other organisms. With synthetic biology, plants could be engineered to have a greater tolerance to cold. They could be engineered to photosynthesize more effectively, to use less water, and to produce greater yields. And similarly to what the other group was saying, certain microbes could also be modified to detoxify the Martian soil for plant life. And while synthetically engineered plants would help them be more resilient, certain factors like massive temperature fluctuations would still be too extreme for plant life as we know it.
So one way we would have an alternative to is to have a variety of plant life because we watched before we watched a movie about how these people lived in kind of this kind of environment that we're talking about, but they didn't really have much of a variety, which contributed to a little bit of a downfall. So one way we help this is to allow fish and plants to coexist and have a symbiotic relationship. And it would create a self-sustainable ecosystem because the fish's excrements could be used, the plants will use it to gain nutrients, and the plants will help filter the water for the fish, and the fish will be able to create homes in those plants and be able to feed off of them. So this is one of our solutions.
So science shows that millions of years from now, Mars will be habitable on its own from outgassing by geologic activity, where the atmosphere will slowly build. So from this information, long-term solutions can be formed, which are not yet feasible, but suggest speeding up this process. So one idea is to redirect asteroids and comets to hit Mars, removing water and vapor, CO2 and vapor from the atmosphere, but this would require like thousands of them. Another suggests like the use of a device as a magnet dipole shield, shielding Mars from solar winds, which kind of keeps it in this thin state it is, the atmosphere. So when we eventually get closer to sustaining plant life on Mars, we hope this project can serve as a reminder to why we should start small, and that rather than focusing our efforts on something that's unreachable, like terraforming the planet, they should be directed at goals that are obtainable and feasible.
Okay, so in conclusion, while being able to grow plants in the bare Martian surface would allow for much higher yields, there's simply too many barriers to overcome in order to support plant life in such an environment. And while theoretically possible, terraforming the planet in order to support plant life is currently not feasible, given our technologies. Plants grown in controlled environments would not need to face any such challenges and are currently a much more suitable alternative. And our goal with the project was to answer the question, which method of plant production would be feasible and sustainable, given current technologies. And given our research, we think we've arrived at an achievable solution. Some potential further research that we didn't address would be the investigation of other wet methods of water creation. We kind of briefly addressed it, but there's definitely other methods that we didn't really go in depth into. And our project didn't specify which plants would be most advantageous, but that isn't really specified yet, as some could be synthesized.
And those are just some questions that we may have when trying to create a synthesized plant to be able to live on Mars. Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Excellent.
Cool.
I got to get resituated here on my desktop, so I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment. Sorry.
Great presentation. I love the animation you guys did with like the what Mars would look like with oceans and greenery.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Your discussion topic too on should we focus on going to Mars or our current problems on Earth is a very real question that is great and has no answer.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have a position on it? I was going to ask. The group, not Shane. Do you have a position on should we go to Mars or just focus on the Earth?
We know everything we need to know, kind of, about Mars. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we should just focus on here.
Yeah. I think a lot of us feel that way.
What is the reality of directing asteroids to hit Mars? When you guys were doing your research, how is that possible?
Like it would open up like the unreachable like crust area where like the minerals are that hold the CO2. So like that's the undiscovered CO2 that we don't know about.
Really interesting.
A lot of that's pretty theoretical, and like such a huge terraforming project would be like hundreds or thousands of years, but
yeah,
it's still definitely doable.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. All right, so let's see if I can get this full screen here.
So we went from microbes to plants, and now we go to humans on Mars.
The Martians.
The Martians.
Actually, one of our members lost internet connection right now.
Okay. So should we move to the next group real quick?
You can actually still like start without her because she has her section a little later as well. So
yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, so we went from microbes to plants and now we're to humans on Mars. So I'm Anumita Ghosh.
I'm Bianca Colin.
And I'm Ivy Lee. And we have Emily.
So here we have a little animation of just connecting the different levels from micro to macro, so we can play it.
Mars. It's a dream for children and an ambition for those with the desire to explore. The path to get there is long and each step is essential in making science fiction reality. From microbes to plants and eventually humans, we hope to create biodiversity and unity on this lonely planet. Human exploration on Mars is not an easy feat, however. How will we get there? What architecture and garments are needed for protection? How will we acquire the necessary resources? Why even go to Mars? That is what we're hoping to answer for the advancement of human intervention beyond Earth. From the dust and rock of the Martian surface, we will grow a community of life and finally become an interplanetary species.
Okay, so we made a stop motion, which presents our question and proposal to the public, incorporating a soundtrack that emulates like the long-held poetic dreams and healing potential of human exploration to Mars.
So first of all, how will we get to Mars in the first place? SpaceX is developing a craft called Starship, which is made of stainless steel due to its toleration of extreme temperatures and consists of 60% recycled material. However, it isn't as light and cheap as aluminum alloys, which is what spacecraft are usually made of, but they're extremely harmful to the environment. An alternative of magnesium alloys can be used instead due to its abundance and eco-friendliness. To improve the efficiency of the craft, we propose a metamaterial composed of the lightweight magnesium alloys and temperature-resistant stainless steel for a Starship to be made of.
And these are our potential landing places, which all have certain benefits, such as the ability to mine copper, or its lower elevation will protect from solar radiation. Yeah, next slide.
I think I have a little bit of a lag. Are you guys, am I on the right place for you?
Yeah, just keep going.
Oh, okay.
And again.
Yeah. Okay, so once we get to Mars, what are we gonna wear? Fashion may not be the first thing you think of when you're on Mars, but it does play a large role in survival. Generally, spacesuits serve as protection from extreme temperatures and radiation, as well as a supply of oxygen and water. Now, what has fashion got to do with this? Well, the design and fabrics of spacesuits are very important. It is made of 14 carefully chosen layers, each playing a different role in sustaining the astronaut. So for Mars, however, the suit must be modified. The recently launched Perseverance rover includes an instrument called Sherlock and 5 samples of special fabric. These fabrics will be weakened under constant radiation from the sun, and Sherlock can then assess the composition of the materials for their durability on Mars. To reduce the spacesuit's cost, 3D printing can be used to produce the individual parts. Also, the use of a shrink-wrap suit, which was developed by MIT, acts as a second skin and can be used for better movement. We propose that the suit includes the oxygen-producing technology as well to make use of Mars's resources. Combining these ideas could produce a spacecraft of maximum efficiency.
Water supply is vital for human survival. Water and oxygen supply is one of the biggest reasons a trip to Mars is difficult. So there will be 3 different possible ways in getting water on Mars. Water sent from Earth, just in case as a reserve in case of emergency, but we also have two other methods split into short-term and long-term. The short-term method is extracting the water from the soil through heating it. Previous missions have revealed that the presence of small quantities of water in the Martian soil. Team JFE has designed a system with the capability to extract water from the soil of Mars. It is a type of furnace system that uses focused light thermal heating to be repeated to create water. The long-term method is pumping Martian atmosphere full of greenhouse gases to increase the temperature on Mars. The gases will trap the heat from the sun, which will raise the planet's temperature, eventually reaching the adequate temperature, melting the ice. Next is oxygen supply. MOXIE is a part of the Mars 2020 mission. NASA is preparing for human exploration, and MOXIE will try to produce oxygen from the Martian carbon dioxide atmosphere. Although it is still a test model, further oxygen generators will be 100 times the size. Currently, it is seen that MOXIE can supply more than 3/4 of the oxygen needed for exploration.
When designing Martian architecture, it's essential to keep in mind factors such as protection from solar radiation and self-generating or easy-to-replace materials. The solution...
Excuse me.
Next slide. Next slide, sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The solution is microbial and mycelium-based architecture, which when supplemented by the aforementioned technologies and hydroponic food systems, is able to address all the architectural requirements for human survival on Mars. Its insulative and strong properties are able to withstand Martian conditions, and it can be bioengineered in a variety of ways to meet all the requirements, plus water filtration. It is also very cost efficient to grow your own home without having to travel to Mars with heavy building materials. NASA architects have proposed a 3-layered home. The outer layer, composed of frozen ice water, is derived from Earth or Mars and offers radiation protection. And as water trickles down to the middle layer where cyanobacteria is fed by water and the Martian carbon dioxide, it produces more of the oxygen required for humans living in the inner layer, where mycelium grows on a plastic shell brought from Earth, acting as insulation. The mycelium will stop growing once heat treatment is applied or nutrients are taken away. However, we can also reactivate the mycelium to heal itself. Next slide. And these are also a variety of other benefits from such architecture that minimize invasive and expensive technology.
So this is our concluding video, and most of the images and videos in this video are from the NASA photo library to make Mars exploration as realistic as possible.
Space exploration helps us answer some of the most defining questions of our species. Are we alone in the universe? Can our species survive beyond the haven of Earth? Can our understanding of Earth help us create a similar society on Mars? If the pure desire to answer these questions isn't enough, there's also the implications to life on Earth. The preparation for human endeavors to Mars comes with the development of new technology and advancements in fields such as material science, architecture, water, and oxygen generation. Once humans successfully survive on Mars, we will have the data and refined techniques to help life survive in extreme environments back on Earth. The growth of microorganisms, plants, and ultimate survival of humans on an ever-changing Earth relies on the discoveries found on Martian soil. Ideally, the quest for knowledge and exploration is a unifying factor that brings together people of all backgrounds. This global unity is much needed in today's circumstances and will be in even more need in the future. A joint effort to send fellow humans to the Red Planet will provide that needed collaboration and hope for an exciting future.
Wow.
We still have discussion questions.
All right, 1 second.
So the discussion question on what other technologies and systems have to be developed and further research on to facilitate our plans. And should Mars be a human playground to experiment with? There's a risk that Earth and microbes may mutate and react unexpectedly to Martian atmosphere. Should we be taking that risk in the hopes of discovery? And considering the state of the world, cost, and technologies, is it feasible and or worth it to travel to Mars?
Very good.
Thank you.
Wow.
I have a quick question. It's what is the, I asked it before, but what would be the minimum number of people you would need for a community on Mars, do you think?
That's a good question. I mean, the Starship that SpaceX is creating, it's meant for 100 passengers to travel to Mars. So maybe that is just like 100 people is what is thought to make a community.
Okay, thank you.
That was really great. The animation and the beginning and the movie at the end were really good. They did a great job kind of setting it up and setting the tone and then wrapping it all up at the end. And yeah, awesome job. Awesome job.
Beautiful animation. Just gorgeous. And the text for the last video is really well written and well read. Very impressive.
I really like what you brought up about how Mars exploration could help bring together,
yes,
to unite us into a common goal. I think is really great.
Yeah, that was going to be my comment too, and it's also really great to see that it's modeled in the fact that 3 teams worked together for this, so that you guys divided up. You thought about this sort of exploration as a whole, but then all 8, how many of you, 9 or 10 of you worked together to really kind of focus on each part. So that's incredible.
You functionally managed 2 different sets of collaborations, which was really impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very beautiful Martians, all 3 of you.
Oops. Messy desktop. All right, mycelium.
Hi, I'm Abby.
And I'm Shimmy.
And our project is mycelium, insulation, and microremediation.
Next slide. So our final project is targeted to help with disaster relief in the Caribbean islands. A large problem of rebuilding is the lack of funding and materials for housing. So we decided we would use mycelium to create a sustainable material for insulation, as well as microremediation to extract hazardous materials from the environment.
Our project consists of 2 main ideas, mycelium insulation and microremediation. First of all, mycelium is the fungal plant body of mushrooms. It is a very handy material that can be molded to fit our needs, but also has many special purposes like extracting harmful metals and toxins. While helping communities clean up their environment, we are also striving to build homes with mycelium insulation.
The social context of our project is disaster relief for hurricane-susceptible communities. Puerto Rico is still suffering from damage by Hurricane Maria from 2017, but people remain to have troubled housing even today. Although the island is rich in culture and tradition, Puerto Rico has many impoverished communities filled with debris as a result of natural disasters. To help restore local neighborhoods, we propose recycling the solid waste from buildings and fallen trees and converting it into mycelium substrate. This way, we can help clean up waste, reduce homelessness, and embrace a new eco-friendly technology.
Here are some photos and a video of Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. As you can see, many of the homes are entirely destroyed with nothing but debris left.
Next slide. In an effort to turn around the abundance of debris, we propose collecting wooden remains and converting it into small wood chips, which can then be made into mycelium substrate and go directly into rebuilding houses.
To better understand mycelium, we thought we would show you some microscope photos of our mycelium samples. So mycelium is taking nutrients provided by the substrate and creating a white web-like texture. Mycelium is not just a single piece, but is actually a network, bringing much needed nutrients to its surroundings in exchange for carbon.
The design of our insulation bricks are thick hexagons, which are heavily influenced by the natural pattern of carbon allotropes like graphene, resembling a continuous pattern of interlocking hexagons. We were also inspired by tessellations, which are patterns made of one shape that can be repeated endlessly, but still have a seamless finish. Although our pattern is minimalistic, we want to have one shape for our mycelium bricks, so that no matter how small or large that your walls are, you would only need one shape, the hexagon.
This is our project proposal. You can view the full link for the video at the end of our presentation. Each year, millions of people living in the Caribbean are slammed with tropical storms during hurricane season. Many of these countries don't have enough time and resources to properly rebuild before the next hurricane season comes around. Our solution is to make mycelial insulation, dried mycelium hexagons in a frame that fits perfectly into a wall. Also, we plan to introduce microremediation to help rehabilitate the environment.
Next slide.
I love watching this.
So here are some photos after making the prototype. You can see that the hexagon mold is holding the mycelium in place. We lined it with cling wrap to make sure that it was sealed in. With rubber bands around the top and tiny holes for respiration, the mycelium has been going really well over the past few days. From day 1 to day 3, there's an increase in condensation and a lot of new white fuzz.
After making the physical prototype, we made a digital 3D version of what we envisioned the full mycelium panels to be like. First, we designed the wall with insulation on SketchUp and transferred it into Sketchfab. The wall has a hexagonal frame with open slots for our mycelium bricks. We were also thinking of using a 3D printer to make these frames, potentially out of recycled plastic.
Then we created a 3D Mozilla Hubs room where you can virtually tour our prototype. The room is really fun and we're super proud of it. So if you're interested in viewing our 3D prototype, the link will be at the end of our presentation.
Here are our precedents. We were inspired by Buckminster Fuller, tessellations, and hexagonal patterns found in nature. We were also inspired by many of the in-class lectures, such as Dr. Jimzasi's lecture about nano to pencil, Professor Vesna's pencil workshop, and Caitlin Bryson's workshop about fungi and mycelium. The lectures went in depth with the topic of carbon allotropes and the significance of hexagons in the natural world. Caitlin Bryson also hosted the mycelium workshop, where we got to experiment with mycelium molding.
We hope our project makes an impact on communities around the globe. By transforming the debris in disaster-torn areas, we can help turn around the waste and directly feed it to mycelium as substrate, cleaning up at the same time. While we're focused more on the Caribbean islands right now, mycelium and microremediation can be applied even to your environment.
And now we'll go through a short recap of our presentation. Mycelium architecture is emerging as a new sustainable solution to world problems of housing and pollution. Our proposal of building mycelium insulation is targeted to help communities recover from natural disasters. We would help clean up the debris of hurricane effects by feeding wood to the mycelium. This way, we help local communities in a direct cycle to rebuild and pave the way for a sustainable future. Our plans to incorporate mycelium into modern architecture will hopefully inspire others to do their part in helping the planet and change the world's perspective of environmental consciousness.
To help you become more environmentally conscious and consider your impact on the planet, which is on the left. We also provided some devil's advocate questions for ourselves so you can gain a better understanding of our products. When you talk about microremediation, what are your plans with the absorbed chemicals? Does it damage the mycelium, and where does it go? Unfortunately, the scientific realm of mycelium is relatively new, and we don't have all of the answers. We want mycelium to represent the best sides of sustainability, but further research must be done to help scientists gain a better understanding of the material. If mycelium is a living organism, then what are the ethical concerns of using it as insulation? Will it grow in my house? Our answer is no. Our mycelium is dried and ready for insulation.
This is our bibliography with some references for websites and inspiration that we use to develop our project.
Wow.
Thank you.
Next slide.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh.
On your credits, for sure.
And here's some references and credits for all the videos and photos we used in our presentation.
And then we have one more slide.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. We appreciate all of your support.
If you're interested in checking out our Mozilla Hub's virtual prototype gallery or the full-length video of making our prototype, make sure to check those out. We're going to put it in the chat.
Cool.
I see another company forming.
Wow.
Yet another startup. Wonderful.
So great to see the evolution of that. You guys put so much work into it, and I'm particularly just the SketchUp model is such a good. It's so great to see that and to be able to really contextualize like how you take this living organism, and also I love your microscopy images, but like how you take it and you apply it to the sort of the human purpose that we're kind of after. And yeah, Mick, I'm sure you have something to say too. We were working with these girls.
Yeah, it's a really streamlined presentation, and but throughout the process, I've just been impressed with your prototyping approach and just what Graham was saying, from hands-on to digital.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, as one of the students mentioned, it really does sum up our approach to the course. So thank you for that.
It's amazing to see you guys recycling your mycelium material and making the best out of every bulk bit you've got too. Like, kudos to all of you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay. Got a few more groups here. Get this. Oh. All right. Project Prosthetic.
Okay. My name is Brent Gellick. I'm Jonathan Moe.
I'm Miranda Liu. And I'm Caitlin Ng. And our final project is Project Prosthetic.
Project Prosthetic aims to solve some of the most pressing issues with current prosthetics. We focus on reducing the price of prosthetics so that they are more accessible for people who need them. By using recycled plastics and eco-friendly materials, the prosthetics will be efficient while still maintaining their affordability. Through the use of IMES and quantum effects, our prosthetic limbs will have better balance, sharper sensory technology, and more flexible movement. Additionally, by providing customizability to our prosthetics, wearers can make their own personal statement and feel more comfortable in their own bodies. We also have a short video to give a quick introduction to our product.
Great.
Okay. Our group wants to help the disabled by designing an effective prosthetic limb using quantum and sensing technology. There are 185,000 amputations every year in the US, and over 30 million people have prosthetics. Because of this, we want to find a way to improve the lives of amputees. There are many issues involving the skin and discomfort and lack of balance. Not only do prosthetics feel unnatural, but many materials used to build prosthetics are also harmful to the environment. Prosthetic limbs can cost up to $50,000 and need to be replaced every 5 to 3 years. We plan on starting in LA and eventually going global.
With millions of people using prosthetics, only a fair few have access to advanced prosthetic technology that can't even imitate the movements amputees previously had. Our project launches in a few years after more research has been conducted on our technology, which we will go into more depth about later. We will deploy in all countries around the world, starting with the largest ones, as they have the highest amputee population. By actively researching and prototyping our prosthetic, we can achieve a fairly priced, highly innovative model in the near future.
Here are some of our precedents. We were inspired by the work of Project Form 5, a nonprofit organization founded by Aaron Westbrook, a college student who was born with only one hand. They create 3D printed equipment from plastic waste. We also looked at these finger prosthetics. They were part of the work for the original myoelectric technology development by Richard Weir and his lab. The prosthetics are designed to allow for joint movement, and we plan to implement these into our prosthetic design. You can go to the next slide. Researchers at MIT have published discoveries on the AMI, agonist-antagonist myoelectric interface, a set of muscles and tendons that can be connected during surgery to maintain the natural feeling and proprioception associated with the regular limb. Quantum particles exhibit spin properties, which are found in Posner molecules. Their quantum-like properties enable them to influence brain function by sending signals from neuron to neuron. You can go to the next slide.
Our project aims to design environmentally friendly prosthetic limbs that use advanced sensor technology powered by Posner molecules. This, combined with the IMES, or Implantable Myoelectric Sensor System, which allows for specific muscle movements, makes the prosthetic incredibly effective and efficient. One aspect that sets our prosthetic apart is its ability to provide the user with proprioception, or natural sense of the prosthetic's position, speed, rotation, and torque, similar to a normal limb, which is possible by linking the prosthetic with the AMI. Next slide.
We also aim to build our prosthetics with eco-friendly and easy-to-process materials. Each prosthetic can be easily melted and recycled when the user has grown out of it. The prosthetics have a comfortable socket utilizing thermoplastics, which provide both comfort and support. To help reduce the amount of plastic pollution, we 3D print many components using recycled filaments. In addition, we want to offer people custom-made prosthetics with their design of choice to allow them to express themselves and improve their confidence and self-image. People struggle to find prosthetics that are worth the price. Many only last a couple months, especially for kids who are growing. By providing a cheap and highly reliable product, people will suffer less and save money in the process.
Our project's impact is the 4 E's. So first, economic. 3D printing the outer structure of the prosthetic using recycled plastics is considerably cheaper compared to using fiberglass. The cost is around $2,200 to $2,400 for the entire model. Next, environmentally friendly. By 3D printing, we replace harmful materials like heavy metals and certain fibers. Using recycled plastic is also beneficial as it reduces waste output. The socket materials are all easily recyclable. Polypropylene, polyethylene, silicone, and urethane don't release any harmful particles, and parts in the IMES system can be reused. And then effective. Utilizing Posner molecules results in faster connection, and the IMES system uses wireless signals and internal muscle implants, allowing for the prosthetic's natural movement. And finally, empowering. Our sleek, minimal design means that the prosthetic will be comfortable to wear anywhere with confidence. Our model can also be customized, therefore adding a personal and unique touch to each prosthetic.
The big idea. How can we create a prosthetic arm that's affordable and able to replicate realistic joint movements? In conclusion, our goals are to create a world where anyone can afford a prosthetic that is both reliable and high performance. Utilize both the researched IMES and the still speculated idea of quantum physics to create an optimal tech system, and to add a personal aspect to prosthetics by ways of art and customization. We acknowledge that some ideas in this proposal are hypothetical and it will be difficult to be implemented currently. However, we believe that in the near future, through greater exploration and research, our goals can be fulfilled and our prosthetics a reality. Next slide.
Our discussion questions are, how can we make prosthetics cheaper while still having quality materials? What are other eco-friendly materials that we could use? Would utilizing quantum mechanics for prosthetics be possible in the future, considering the limited research within the field? And finally, are there any aspects of our proposal that could use improvements? Yeah, these are our references, and thank you for your time.
Wow. Amazing. Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
I love seeing those drawings too. I mean, as well as just all of your incredible research.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the research because I remember hearing just initial ideas and then it just went nicely deep, and at the same time recognizing what's speculative and what needs more time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really well done, and the intent is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think this is our last group from Asia.
Welcome. Good morning.
Yeah, hello everyone. And our topic is about waste or wealth. And I'm Lucy from Shanghai, China, and I focus on the art part.
I'm Christy from Shanghai. I'm responsible for science part.
Hello, I'm Koli from Chengdu, but actually I live in Huangshan right now, and I'm the part of that I made a video for this part.
Yeah, as we can see, the right picture is actually a part of a project. We use the waste CD and waste paper, and actually there's also waste blueberry to make this small sculpture. And we think we actually made something waste into something else. Yeah. First, let me introduce our topic. We think many people today think garbage is only garbage. They are useless because I think they lack of some creative mind, and maybe they don't think serious on the environmental problem. But I think we should use these waste materials to build something beautiful and recycle them in a good way. And it actually turned out that this can actually affect people's emotion and behaviors in a positive way.
And about the waste, actually there's 4 major pollutions of the nature, and there are waste products created by our daily life, and water pollutions, and soil contaminations, and air pollutions. And all of this improper disposal of garbages can cause a lot of problems. And the sewage and waste created by the industries may flow into rivers and lakes with natural rainfall, and hence it will somehow release the toxic gas under a high temperature. And please play the video.
The video is at like next to the end of the slideshow. If you just go to that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Right after project proposal, 151.
You see.
Well, can you play it, Lucy? Like screen sharing?
Yeah, maybe we just do it that way for this one.
Okay.
Yep. There we go.
I don't think we can hear your sound.
Yeah, there's no sound. Oh.
You know what? Stop sharing and then start to resharing, but click off computer sound.
Yeah.
Cindy recognized Coco Pen at a glance in the garbage dump and happily stepped forward to start a conversation with her.
Hello, I'm the guy with the colorful light-on tattoo. Ta-da! You know what? My tattoo artist is a professional laser scanning robot. He's so talented. Anyways, my master called me optical disc. It's nice to meet you.
Hello, I am a charcoal pen.
Wow, you're the guy dancing on the paper.
You remember me? Awesome. My master especially liked the little footprint I left on the paper. Did you know that my footprints were on the display in the master's exhibition before?
That's so cool. But why are you here?
It's a long story. Although part of me is being exhibited, my master has a new partner. So, I have been forgotten. And the weird thing is, I didn't know what happened, but I was here as soon as I wake up in a bucket.
I wish I didn't know why I'm here. It's a nightmare for me. Even so, I can still shine like a diamond. Check it out, honey.
Yeah, you look great. So what? All of us in this dump are going to become nothing but residue in a few minutes, mixing with countless trash.
Oh, really? Let me make this clear. First, I'm not any trash. And second, people will find me, pick me up among guys, and apologize for his negligence.
Let's go to work. Look, there's something shiny. Hey, they said they will throw you in the pulverizer.
You're kidding me. You're not much better.
Come on, being recycled is my ideal way to go to heaven. Don't worry, we will meet again.
Que se quede infinito sin estrellas, o que pierda el ancho mar su inmensidad, pero negro de tus ojos que no muera, y el canela de tu piel se quede igual. Si perdiera el arco iris su belleza.
Yes. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's so good. Okay, I'll go back to the presentation. Wow, that just made me so happy.
I'm just amazed with everyone's animation skills. We saw stop motion tonight, hand-drawn animations, some 3D, like, it's amazing.
On your references, the way the characters are referring to I get scanned by a laser.
Yeah. The dialogue is fantastic.
Okay, focus, get back here. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen again. Wow. Okay. This is the right slide, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And we found some related artists, and this one, and he is called John Great, and he has used waste machinery and waste metal to build some sculpture. Like the right picture, he built a cute giraffe, and in the next page, he used machinery and metal to build a pattern, and looks like a great sculpture as well. Yeah.
We saw that Lucy used the waste metal paper in her production. And now let's see how to recycle waste metal. Next. As we can see, the largest amount of production of metal reached to 3,500 million, which is the production of iron ore. And next. And here's a graph that illustrates annual global production of industrial metals and critical minerals and metals from 1980 to 2012. Obviously, they are all in increasing tendency. And with the continuous progress and development of the society, the resources on the earth are less and less, especially metal resources. At the current rate of global mining, some of the earth's metal resources may run out in the next few years. Recycling waste metals, people can get new produced metal products, which is environment friendly and benefits economics. Please go to the next slide. And the science of recycling the waste metal is mainly electrolysis, and it is extensively used in metallurgical process. And in this way, it can purify metals from ores or compounds, or through deposition of metals from solution. And next slide, please. About recycling the CD. Next, please. There are polymer carbonates plastic which can be used for medical producing medical devices, cars, and computers, and that can save a large amount of the raw material oil. And next. There are two companies who use the CD to produce CD shells, and Bayer in Germany used CD into computer, and they did a lot of effort in it. And then, in order to reuse valuable resources, garbage classification is very important. As what I know, garbage classification is paid much more attention in recent years in China, especially in Shanghai. And there's a question related to our pandemic situation now. And how about use the disposal masks? We think that it should be cut into pieces to prevent reusage without harmless treatment and put it into residual waste. Next. And there's a slogan, most of the rubbish bin in China, it's garbage classification start from me. And next. So we strongly encourage you guys to try making your own sculpture of waste materials, just what we did. Next slide. And so that we can hold a virtual gallery of recycled arts. And next. So that for the future, garbage classification can benefit the environment as well as economics. For example, generating electricity from through refuse incineration, and for virtual gallery of recycled art, it can appeal people to creatively use the waste around them instead of just throw them away. And next, please.
And about all of this, recycling is not only what governments and companies should put efforts in, and I think it's all everybody's duties to protect our earth, and everyone should start to recycling things like, and also there's many things that we waste every day, and also we may like put some efforts on it and start to create a better life. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so That's why our project starts, and we inspire all of you to initiate from this idea and use the weight material you have maybe done in this SciArt studio and make your own sculpture. Maybe we can have we can hold a small exhibition online. And also we think there's also problem. For example, maybe the sculpture will also be thrown away even as an artwork. So maybe the solution is simple, just recycle to the recycling company. Maybe it's the eventual way. Yeah.
And here's some two questions that we leave for you guys. And about how to recycling things is actually a tough question for many people. And I think there's some like apps on our phones and also some videos on YouTube. You can watch it and to learn how to recycle things in our life, to distinguish which one to put in the proper bin, and also about the weakness of our like project is like might be whether the idea of the utilizing and classifying waste independently can be well spread, and it is truly hard to raise a high awareness of that. And I hopefully wish everyone could like join us to recycling things in our daily life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like the idea of you challenging the entire class to reutilize all the materials that are left over to create like a little memory statue of the 2 weeks from the program. It would be kind of cool if everybody did that, and then you had your gallery, or maybe it could be in the Mozilla hub to see
Yeah.
these recycled sculptures. It's a very nice idea. I like that a lot. I hope people take on that challenge instead of just dumping the materials or putting them somewhere to collect dust.
It's so great to see that work and to just hear your voices a little bit more.
And I love when the CD played disco.
Animation,
Yeah.
awesome.
I love it.
So we have, sorry, I have a lag on my computer right now.
It's okay.
Did I cut someone off? All right, so now we have our galleries are all set up. Ellie and Zainab have been working super hard to get all of the work into the Mozilla Hub gallery, but have a little video to show here. And Ellie and Zainab are going to talk about it. So just 1 second while that loads.
It was really amazing to like lay out all of the work that you've done in a space together, so they start to communicate with each other. And
Nice.
you can use it as a space to hang out later and virtually party, maybe.
Nice.
Exactly. We'll post 2 links on the chat. So it's the same room. We just divided it, like we duplicated it into 2 so that it's easier on the amount of people that want to join. But this little video, at least, we can give a little preview of all the work that we managed to put together and exhibit in there.
And then maybe next week we can put all your final projects in there too.
Yeah, but it's a nice way of preserving all the beautiful work that's come out of this program. So I'm hoping that you guys can check it out or like send the link to any of your friends or family that want to see what you've done. We're very, very proud of everybody.
Yeah, you did such incredible work.
Wow.
Amazing.
Beautiful centerpiece by students Caitlin.
Wow.
Cool. I think it might be hard to hear, but when you enter the room yourself, you'll definitely hear it. We placed some of the sound recordings that you've done for Ivana and Clinton's workshop. And in certain parts of the gallery, they all kind of come together, kind of have like a rendition of its song.
Wow. Floating avatars.
That look incredibly scary and creepy when they're so big in the room compared to your size.
Wow.
All the awesome remote sensing scans you guys found, they look like huge paintings.
Even the dog gallery.
Dog gallery.
We need to appreciate the dog. But yeah, feel free to, Ellie just posted the links. Feel free to check it out and find your work. Take screenshots if you want to. You can take selfies with your avatars in this space. But yeah, we hope that this is a nice way for you guys to enjoy everything that came out of this.
Whoa.
Wonderful.
How long are do these links stay up? Will students be able to access this for a few months?
Yeah, Mozilla's policy is to keep things free and accessible. So hopefully,
wow.
For as long as Mozilla is in business.
Wow.
And then at the very end, you can enter your data garden rooms and check out all the scan models you guys made.
Beautiful.
So yeah,
we'll see you in hubs.
Beautiful. Ellie and Zainab, amazing. Amazing.
They have spent so much time putting this together. It is really beautiful to see how it's coming.
Every single part of this 12 days has happened at warp speed.
So, has been working around the clock, students included.
Everyone, all of us, and it's really it's a testament to how if everybody comes together with passion and puts themselves into it, anything can be accomplished. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Victoria, do you have any closing thoughts? I have certificates for you all.
I think I just said it. You know, I feel that first of all, I have to say that I definitely have a sense of there's hope for the humanity, and the way everybody assimilated so much information and put it together in such a beautiful, articulate way. It certainly merits undergraduate level, but I would even say beyond freshman. It's really, if you put this in a class with juniors and seniors, nobody would know. So I'm sure that all the instructors feel the same way. One thing that's a gift when you're teaching is it's so much work, and it gets quite exhausting and sometimes frustrating. But when you come to this moment, it's all worth it. You just, I don't know, I'm sure all of us have that same feeling when you see the results and you see how everybody worked together. And to see us all together, even though we're separate, just really makes my day. So I thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor to work with the students. It's an honor to work with the instructors, professors, all of us. We all have a hope for the future, and everybody passed with flying colors, and I hope that it's the beginning of a community and not, end of class and we're done. I hope that your projects are beginning of something else that you keep working on, and in general to understand the complexity and the message that we do have to work together to get through to the other side. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to teach you and to work with the Artside Collective to create a new generation of teachers.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if we're always here, if you guys want to reach out, I know most of you are prepping to apply for college, so here to give advice. We're not going anywhere after the school ends.
Absolutely. Letters of recommendation.
I was going to say, reach out for letters of recommendation for sure.
And if you have ideas and you just need to run them past people, we can help you with that too, you know. Once you're about to, you know, become rich and famous with your amazing ideas,
Don't forget us.
But please never hesitate to reach out to any of us. We all honestly love doing this year after year. We honestly were all geeking out via text message throughout all of your presentations and just how amazing they are.
You're just like, what? This is great.
Yeah.
And this program existed throughout the year. So summer program is one of the things we do, but we're meeting once a week. So it would be great to stay in touch with some of you and keep us posted with schools that you're going to, future projects or anything else. Or also if you're interested to participate in next year,
yes,
and come back, that would be amazing.
And alumni for sure. Yeah.
Does the Slack stay available to students to continue?
Too.
Yeah. So we'll keep that available for everybody to stay connected. And you should also sign up to our mailing list, you know, for the Art Sci Center, because there's always events going on. And our whole point is to just create more and more of a community of people who care for the Earth and the planets and the cosmic system, the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the beauty of this edition online was that the program could take us from home, as if you're not home anymore, just up to the skies to observe the planet, outside of the planet. For me, this was the most beautiful thing for like this year of the SciArt.
Yeah, it's been a really difficult year overall, but this is the kind of stuff that like gives hope and is uplifting and pulls us through this hard time.
And now you have to start teaching others, and you have to start demanding a different type of education when they start narrowing you in and making you go through this kind of SAT stuff. Really just think about how you can change the world. It needs you. So take it very seriously, because we need you. The world needs you. That's what motivates us. But we'll stay in touch. I mean, it's not like boom, we have our alumni reaching out to us all the time. In fact, Sarah Popelka just wrote to us. She's one of our alumni who first was in the program, then she taught in the program. Now she's got an amazing job, and she's doing database and COVID. So we're putting her in a festival that's coming up in September. So we'll keep in touch. We don't just cut off, end of class, done. And you should stay in touch with each other. That's the most important.
Yeah, marvelous. Thank you, everyone. I think I enjoyed it very much. And yeah, I hope you have a good future where you do where you want to be.
And we're going to mail you physical certificates that show that you've completed successfully and have 4 credits. And so that's coming. We'll do that this week. You should have it in a week. Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations.
You did it. You did the impossible. 10 weeks and 2 weeks, you did it. Actually, in 10 weeks and 10 days, really. That would be so great.
Try it.
Hey, Jim. Yeah,
Mhm.
very good. There you go.
That's fine.
Two pictures. There you go. Come closer to the screen and give us your hand.
Matt, will you put your video on? Your camera on?
Collie, hand. There we go. Now we're talking. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Got it?
Mycelium hands.
Got it.
Mycelium antlers.
Wow.
Hands.
Nice.
All right, so do we go to the gallery now? Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, so we made it in 3D space.
See you in 3D.
Your avatars.
Everyone.
See you in 3D. Bye. Congratulations, everybody. You did it.
Yay.
The link is
Yay.
Congratulations.
See you in Mozilla for the reception.
Let's party.
Bye.
Party with the exquisite corpse 3D models.
First, I switched.
I see it kind of disappearing slowly. It's so cool.
Bye-bye.
No, wait. Let it disappear. It's kind of cool. You know, as the windows are disappearing. I like that.
All right.
Switch.
Okay. Bye, Annie. I see it. See it kind of disappear. There we go. It's so cool.
Bye-bye.
Now you can quit it.
There you go.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, John. Thank you.